Welcome to where the screen door slams and the coffee mug hits the table. You're listening to The Family Balancing Act with me, Maureen Huntley, mom, grandmother, and board-certified holistic and functional medicine health coach. Each episode will explore the realities of your day-to-day family life in this modern era of nonstop texts, memes, and technology. After all, how do we keep ourselves sane and our family healthy? I'll have amazing guests and thought-provoking discussions, and we'll take a holistic look at family health, emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual. Whether it's a micro perspective of family involving healthy snacks, teenagers with an attitude, stressed out husbands, partners, adult children, potty training, elder care, grandchildren, college prep, or a macro perspective of world events, including flu, earthquakes, the brainwashing media, finances, and oh, so much more. We'll find a way together. So take a deep breath, exhale, and know that you're not alone. Bring on the Family Balancing Act. Welcome to the Family Balancing Act, where we are restoring the heart of motherhood one conversation at a time. If you've been here with me before, well, welcome back. And if this is your first time, it's an honor to have you here. So come on in, pull up a chair, grab a tea, a coffee, or a green juice, because we have a lot to talk about with my returning guest, Taoist Priest, healer, creator of Glenys Eldred, Healing Hearts and Energy, Renegade Zen, and sustainability expert, Glenys Eldred, here on the Family Balancing Act. I'm so excited to have her back. We're going to have a big conversation today. I'm Maureen, your host, board-certified integrative, holistic, and functional medicine health coach. I am a mom. I'm a grandmother, a wife, and CEO of my family's home operations. If you miss any of our episodes, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, Google, Podbean, Pandora, iHeartRadio podcast, CTR Radio Network, and more. So sign up for my new monthly newsletter and grab my free year-round holiday stress less tips at maureenhuntley.com, where you can also find out how to work with me. I love what I do, holistic solutions for health and well-being for women, moms, and their families. So deep breath, exhale. It starts with you. So every few episodes, I blab on about character strengths, specifically the VIA, values in action, character strengths and virtues. So how about some curiosity today? Well, all of us have that character strength, as well as we have all 24 strengths. Some we use more than others, and that's okay. Curiosity is to have interest, and interest in exploration, and an openness to experience. The curiosity is fulfilling the journey toward an answer or to engage in a new experience, or learn a new fact, or to go to a new restaurant, or visit a new city, meet a new person in your class, or conduct an online search for a question that can fulfill your quest for new experiences and new information. To be curious is to be fully alive and engaged in living. So curiosity brought me to the learning about a process that helped me through trauma, pain, stress, and anxiety. And I was reduced to it. Well, when I was actually having a very emotional moment. And a friend of mine came to me and she said she wanted to show me about this process that would help me, she thought. And I was like, okay. She said, it's called tapping. Honestly, I thought she was nuts. I was like, it looked nuts. It felt weird. I wasn't even really sure about it, but my curiosity took over. And so I'm glad that it did. You curious? Well, throughout my life, I've had, like many people, multiple situations that have been traumatic and that have caused me great anxiety and have played over and over in my head. This old movie that I'm still living in. I don't even remember the specifics of many of these events. It was just this fear and worry, this overwhelming gloom. Hey, we're all just human, right? We all have this. Some do, some don't, varying degrees, but it's trauma. And trauma is an emotional response to a scary or terrible event that you might not even remember, and possibly an event that threatens your life or the life of someone you love or care about. And this results in a significant feeling of fear or helplessness. So if you or anyone you know has experienced an anxiety attack from a trauma experience, it's awful. It's constricting. It's scary. And it feels like it'll go on and on. An anxiety attack, a panic attack. Well, there are multiple names for all of these disorders. It just describes an episode of extreme excessive worry, discomfort, or fear, accompanied by a variety of physical symptoms. And the symptoms can be anxiety attacks that are shortness of breath or heart palpitations, or uncontrollable thoughts and feelings of panic, of loss of control. In an article called "What is an Anxiety Attack?" posted on verywellhealth.com website by Sarah Bentz. It's from June 16th, 2022, and it was medical reviewed by Stephanie Hartzell, MD. She states, remember that anxiety as an emotion is totally normal. That's totally normal part of life. The majority of life changes can be anxiety inducing, but a healthy level of anxiety can keep you alert and focused, right? However, if your day-to-day worries become an anxiety attack with acute symptoms, this can be incredibly distressing. Yes, very distressing. It brings on that fight or flight physical response of the sympathetic nervous system and this rushing of stress hormones, and the body is under attack. Well, we all have to have fight or flight response. We need it. It's primal, but we don't need it daily. The following are statistics from the ADAA, Anxiety and Depression Association of America. And they say on their website that nearly 1/2 of those diagnosed with depression are also diagnosed with anxiety disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, GAD for short. Affects 6.8 million adults, or 3.1% of the US population. Yet only 43.2 of these people are receiving treatment. And women, and I find this for all of these listed, are twice as likely to be affected as men. And GAD often concurs with major depression. And there's panic disorder, PD. It affects 6 million adults, or 2.7% of the US population. And women, again, are twice as likely to be affected as men. Social anxiety disorder, SAD, affects 15 million adults, or 7.1% of the US population. SAD is equally common among men and women, but usually starts around the age of 13. Obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, affects 2.5 million adults, or 1.2% of the US population, and women are 3 times more likely to be affected than men. And the average age of the onset is 19. with 25% of the cases occurring at age 14. And post-traumatic stress, PTSD, affects 7.7 million adults. And women are 5 times more likely to be affected than men. Rape is most likely triggered. One of the triggers that for PTSD, 65% of men and 45.9% of women who've been raped develop disorder. Childhood sexual abuse is a strong predictor of this lifetime likelihood of developing PTSD. So many people with an anxiety disorder also have co-occurring disorder of which physical illness can make their symptoms worse and recovery really difficult. So it's really essential to be treated for these disorders. I will have the information listed on our description so that if you need to find out a support for, if you believe you're going through any or all of these, you need to get support. So here's where my curiosity brought me 13 years ago. I heard about this process I called, that I was using, tapping, emotional freedom technique, or EFT. It's the same thing. It looks as strange as it sounds, but it works. It really works. Emotional freedom technique means tapping to heal. Tapping therapy can help reduce the feelings of stress, anxiety, depression, and pain. It can also be effective in treating headaches, fatigue, sleep problems, muscle tension, joint problems, and more. There have been so many studies done on this. Many people also use tapping as a way to deal with and heal from trauma. Bingo, that's all I needed to hear. So I needed to do a deep dive into this thing and learn about it. And it has been an anchor for me in so many ways, even when I forget to use it. I'll always get back to it. It can be practiced anywhere, anytime. So no matter when or where you may experience negative thoughts or feelings or an attack, you can deal with them effectively and immediately by using tapping. And tapping's central feature involves tapping with your fingertips on acupuncture points on your body. And these acupuncture points are usually referred to as acupoints. And research shows that pressure on acupoints, or acupressure, can be as effective as acupuncture itself. And this is listed in a study done by Churkin, Sherman, and Evans in 2009. Acupuncture theory teaches that energy flows through our body through pathways called meridians, and disease caused by a blockage or interruption of that flow. You can use acupuncture. Acupressure can be used to remove all of those blockages. It's all energy. And that's where tapping comes in. EFT. Thank God for curiosity and the love of learning and all the character strengths, because my curiosity brought me to using tapping to calm myself down, to work through emotional stuff, trauma, and prayer. Yes, prayer and meditation. It can calm down your nervous system so that it can allow energy to flow. And speaking of flow, it's time for me to bring on my guest, Glenys Eldred. Yes. And let's bring her in. Glenys, are you there? So yes, we're trying to get her on here. Glenys, it's so great to have you here today. You're amazing. I know you had a little problem there jumping on before, but no worries. We just deal with it. We just jump right in there and get going.
Thanks for being accommodating. I had nothing. I don't know what happened. No electricity.
Well, we're
Nothing.
talking energy today, girl, as usual. I just love having Glenys on because it's so great to have a conversation with someone who gets the energy mode and ideas and processes and work and how it's so important for us to function and how it affects even the stuff we deal with, like computers and lights and electronics and growing plants.
Well, yeah, because if my grow lights go out, that's a problem. Also, my computer, I had nothing. I don't know why. I used it right before I went to bed last night, and this morning, nothing.
Well, I think
I can't blame the cleaning lady for unplugging me. That would be me.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. I was going to say, cleaning lady. Yeah, no, that
would be me. I didn't do it.
I didn't do it. Honestly, I didn't do it. So I know often when I have everyone sitting there listening to my little blither in the beginning, and I was talking about anxiety and the trauma that can bring on anxiety and stress and how it affects everything in our body systems and how our energies are so affected and how curiosity for me, bringing up our good old character strengths, it's curiosity that brought me to checking out emotional freedom technique, the process I use, and you use a different process, and it brings its own solutions to the table, basically. And for me, I had somebody show me at actually an event I was at, and a friend of mine, and I was having an emotional moment, probably working out some sort of, having a big talk, and I was not dealing with it well. And she kind of pulled me aside. She goes, how about we do some tapping? And I was like, what? What are you talking about? And it's tapping. And we started doing, and I thought, wow, this is just wacky. I don't know what this woman's talking about. This is, whatever. But curiosity got the best of me. And that was 13 years ago. And I started to delve into it. And I go on and off of it, and I've forgotten about it, but I use it with my family. I use it on myself all the time. And I use it with my clients. But now we're curious about what you do.
I do a little bit of everything. And yes, it's amazing how I was just looking at my resume the other day because I'm working on my new page on my website. And I was like, oh my God, did I do all this stuff? Do I have all these certifications and all these credentials? I mean, I was like, oh my Lord.
We've been around a while.
Yeah,
we've been on the planet for a while.
And I love that because my toolkit is as big as my butt. I can delve in there. My arm goes down to my elbow, and I can pick out something. So when I'm working on people, when I was working on people in New York, I could touch them. And as I was touching them and melding energies, and we were doing hands-on work, or we were doing energy work, or whatever it was we were doing, they was like, oh my God, I just love it when your hands are on me. And I don't go to New York anymore. And they have been calling up, are you coming back to New York? I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not going to pay for an office and the traffic. I did it for 20 years. I'm over it. I just can't. Right. It's not even so much that, it's not good energy to be spending 3 to 5 hours a day commuting. It just isn't. It's not good use of time. So I decided that what I would do was break out all of my old modalities. And I've been working on this for a while. And I wanted to bring them in a distance format. And so I've been testing. God bless my clients. God bless them.
I know. It's a changed world. I mean, and we could talk about that in a bit also. It's just, everything's changed.
Right. Well, they have moved out of New York and they're all over the place now. but occasionally they'll come back to New York and they're like, are you coming to New York? And no, I'm not coming into New York. That is not. So what ended up happening was I said, I would like to try this on you because you know what a hands-on session feels like. And you know what being in my field feels like. And you know the effect that I had because you came for like, they come for like periodic checkups or just a wellness check. Some of them just come once a month whether they need it or not. They just came. And so I did this, my new protocol with them. And they were like, oh my God, it reminds me of when I'm on your table. They're like, oh, remember on your table? And I would, I would snore or I'd fall asleep or, I could feel, remember the time we smelled Band-Aids? It's like, they all have like little memories. And I was like, yeah. And they're like, well, this feels just like that. And I've been saying that all along.
Perfect.
When we would have snow days, but now we don't have to have snow days. And one person said to me, I don't even have to take my shoes and socks off anymore. I can leave them on, or I can have them off already. I can be in my pajamas. I can be anywhere I have privacy and I'm good. So I now have a body of people who will go with me into the magic of distance healing.
Perfect.
And know that you don't have to travel and commute. I mean, I had this one guy who goes, do you remember it rained every Tuesday for a year? And I had a slog there every Tuesday for a year. And he used to come in, he'd go, I hate the rain. And I said, I'm really sorry. I didn't. So sometimes the journey is a little convoluted, but when it finally came down to it, we can do it online like this. And do it and be just as effective. I mean, I know how to do that. I can't vouch for everybody, but I know you do, and I can. And that frees up a lot of caregiving for people, healing for people, time. And don't you think time is like the most critical thing right now? Honestly,
time is so precious.
Is so fast. Like I always thought when I was a little kid, wow, summers are so long. Now it's like, it's over.
Right. That comes with age. It just comes with age. Every year as we get older, time speeds up, or it's because we're packing more and more into our life. It's those times when you are not doing anything and you're bored and time just lags on, then those are the times you feel like nothing's happening and it's taking forever to get to whatever time you've logged in, like, oh, Christmas. I remember as a kid, I want Christmas. It was only 3 weeks prior. I want it again. And it would never come fast enough. Now it comes way too fast.
Yeah, it does, because we have so much to do. It's true.
We have a lot to do and life goes on. And the stuff going on in the world today, which we've talked on prior times you've been on, is so intense, and you can feel the energies on the planet. You see in the Schumann resonance how the energy sparks are we're just hitting high levels of energy, and that's also with the awareness. People are growing with more, they're becoming more in tuned to energy and to who they are. We're being called to step up and let go of what does not work. And the stuff, and I'm going through this too, and hence I've gotten a head cold and working through that. And it's like, and we were talking the other day, and we were supposed to record this much earlier, but I sounded like a dude. My voice was a lot lower.
It was very sexy.
Oh, yes, that's right.
It was very sexy.
But I get hit with these things when I am not fully present to what my energies are telling me to do, to what God's telling me to do.
I hear you. I think that we're all having to start listening, instead of listening to commercials things that entertain us on television, in our lives, just entertainment time, our hearts are speaking louder what we need. What do we need to do? How are we better served than sit in front of the TV and just vegging? Like, that old fire watching thing. Now maybe we have to do something. Maybe we need to think about something. Maybe we need to sort of take it out and wonder. And there's a couple of things that help with that wondering, is approaching it with childlike wonder. How little kids, they can be completely immersed in the most mundane things, but then when you look at it, it's actually quite perceptive, and they sort of unknit things in a way that you would never think of, because we have so many constraints on us of what we have to do. And so I have found that the appeal of going into something with childlike wonder, like you've never seen it before. In Taoism, they call it be big dummy.
Yes, I love that.
Which was coined long before the dummy books. But the ideal is to approach everything with a childlike curiosity. So your curiosity into it, and then take it one step further, and wonderment. The wonderment, oh, look at that butterfly. Look at the wings. Can you see the rainbow? Like they look at stuff, and I'm just like, it's a butterfly. I like the butterfly. It's a nice butterfly. But kids look at it and they see everything that they can think of that they can kind of compare it to, and then how to savor it. It's a savoring. It's a savoring of the experience.
I'm feeling this as you're talking, just because I have a grandchild, and for those of you who have children who are not, you're not grandparents yet, but you have children, young children, teenagers, even adult children, they're looking at the world differently than what we look through the world at, to be like at today, when all the stuff we've been through has clouded our vision in many ways, and we've let go of that childlike wonder. But when I see my grandchild, and he's
oh, he's so cute.
Young, and he's dealing with, and it's the little things, just picking up a little fluff off the floor and just showing it to me. I'm like, and his eyes are big, like, what does this do? Oh, it's grandma's hair, actually. It's it's actually dirt, but it's like just wonder. It's the wonder, the joy. It's just of the littlest things. And then even the trees, go outside and look up into the sky, and throws his arms out open as he's looking up and looking at the branches on the tree. And so often, I'll look up and I go, wow, that looks really cool. But it's just stand in that, throw your arms out, and to feel it.
I think that's one of the best things about little kids, puppies, and kittens, is that you get to play. I mean, you say, I'm playing with the puppy, the kitten, or the child. But really what you are is you're re-experiencing your own childlike wonder, your own. I mean, I just had my cat the other night. I was watching her. She was running around, sort of the same thing. She had found I call them a dust bowl of my dog's hair, which had come blown out because I had the doors open, and it had blown out from under something, and it was actually a ball, like a tumbleweed,
rolling through the house.
I was like, this is where the cleaning lady comes in. I don't need to fire her. That would be me. So I was like, oh, and she had so much fun, and it was just a dust ball from the dog, a hairball. And so I was like, oh, now I'm looking at that. I'm like, oh, I'm a bad vacuumer. I missed that. And then I'm thinking, but she thinks it's great and it's a toy. Then that's a difference in perception. But her childlike wonder over, oh, look at that. That wasn't there before. And it's moving, which for cats is everything. So when you see things in nature that are moving, like the new spring birds that are coming, or your daffodils, I mean, I swear I can see them growing when I look at them. You can actually see like the little heads come. You can, if you sit there long enough,
it's just starting to reach up. Yeah, just reaching up.
They get actually see little pieces of dirt falling up. I mean, it's like amazing. There's so much beauty and so much to be astonished by, to be inspired by in the way we approach things. But if we're all knowledge, which is up in conscious brain, and I read, I know, I'm quoting, I'm this, I'm that, there's no joy there. There's, I know it. And I used to be called this, so I like this, but and maybe you can tell, but I used to be a little Miss Know-it-all. So on my mother, I used to know it all. And I came home from school one day and told my mother that her arms were the thermostat of her body, and that if they were cold, she was cold. And on her deathbed, she brought that up. Because I've always remembered, your arms are the thermostats of your body. I'm like, oh, anyway, I know everything. I used to know everything, and I would tell everybody everything. And that position of rightness is a judgment. But I was trying it on for size when I was a little kid, and my mother bought into it. And so it was wisdom for her, because her interpretation. But bottom line is that when you're judging yourself, like information as correct, incorrect, skewed, biased, whatever, how you take it into your body is going to be controlled by what that instant judgment is. Are you going to read it and take it in? Are you not going to read it at all? Are you going to resent the time you're spending to figure it out? Like, there's all these little judgments that happen. But when you go out in nature, you don't judge that butterfly. You don't judge that flower. You just go out and appreciate it. And then maybe you pick it, which is, but if you give it to your mother, then it's got more longevity.
That's because she adored you.
Pull it apart to see how it works. But it's interesting how every perception we have colors the inputs of the day. And with your tapping things, it's so miraculous. And the other kinds of tapping that there's tons of tapping, there's tons of energy work, there's tons of things. And all of them have merit. All of them come from basically the same stuff. It's just slightly skewed, a different teaching. But if you get somebody who can reach you as a client, that you're helping, then bonus time, because not everybody's energy will work for every client. But if they have a skill or an awareness or knowledge that you can use in your body for you to rediscover wellness and your own perceptions, change your own perception of what your situation is, if it's emotional or if it's something that, like, somebody was asking me the other day, they were talking about weight loss, and they're like, I hate coaching. I hate coaching. I hate it. And I was like, why do you hate coaching? Well, because coaches are held to make you sustainable, like to do it, to make you follow up on the person. If they didn't do their diet that they were supposed to, did they drink the extra water? Did they chew more? Did they this? And it's like, okay, I sort of relate to that, because I don't like anybody telling me what to do either. Now, I know all those things and I know they work, but sometimes people on diets don't do what they need to do. Like, if they're not supposed to have gluten and their doctors told them not to, and you're giving them a gluten-free diet, and they're like, I have to have bread. I have to have it. I'm not going to live without bread. And so, well, okay, now how are we going to handle that? And they have to be open to being coachable. And sometimes it takes the healing work to go to the pit of where that started from.
Brilliant.
Ability needs a little help. And then once they can commit to the endeavor, the choice to choose it, then you have a wonderfully happy person, because they're doing all the things that we're telling them to do that work.
Well, we don't, as coaches, tell them to do. We just show it. We have it. We hold the space for them to call it out for themselves.
Coaching. I'm talking specifically, I guess. Yeah. I mean, if they have life problems, I'm not telling them, like, you should leave your husband. No, I'm not doing that. Right. But sometimes about like the doctor's given me an order that they have to have a
right.
Teaching them about that. And then we're like, okay, so next week we'll try and do this and this and this. You'll commit to that. Okay. And then they don't, then I'm the big hammer, and I don't want to be the big hammer, and they don't want me to be the big hammer, because nobody likes it.
No, and doesn't work. But I love how you touched on the, the client, or even each of us as individuals don't want to be told what to do.
No, nobody
And
does. I
here,
don't like
and
it either.
here, and here but we can't get out of our own way. And the reason why we can't get out of our own way is because of all the crap we've attached to ourselves through time, through life. And as I spoke about in the beginning, and it's funny because I was going through all these statistics also, which is like, okay, it's just, statistics. So what? Get to the meat of it. But I feel like this is good. We need information. The truth is, though, we need to get back to basics and back into the energy work around why that we're standing in our own way. What is it that has shown up?
That's the energy
through your life. And what is it that has, and as I mentioned, it was like the trauma that has shown up that you don't even know you had, but you have a reaction, a visceral reaction every time you see, a certain thing. Like, I can't watch scary movies. I get freaked out. I just can't watch that. If I get to a certain level where somebody's going to get hurt, I just can't watch it. And I get my family almost like, what's wrong with you, Mom? All you could do is sit and watch Hallmark movies. There's some of those I can't even watch. It's just, what is it that happened or that I witnessed? But I don't remember. And I don't, and I know there's work you can do where you can regress and you can do that type of work, but I don't even know if I want to go that way. I just want to clear the emotional energy. That's all.
Right. And that's where the tapping that you're doing and the energy work and healing work that I used to do on the table and now I can do online, it really, and not to be an ad for that, but
you should be.
It really does help if when you're healing the physical, you can also get a handle on the emotional without going into the trauma. I think this is key. I think a lot of our talk therapies go into the trauma. And in my estimation, and I don't have to prove this because it's me, because I'm a know-it-all, but in my estimation for my clients, and they would attest to this, to not end not to have a session that we necessarily cry, but that we laugh. It's a release. It's a better kind of release. It's an energizing release. It's childlike. And the people in my office in New York used to ask me, are you having a cocktail party in there or something? Because we would get laughing where we couldn't stop. And it just was so freeing. And they were, when they left the table, whatever we were working on was resolved. The emotional piece of it was resolved once and for all. Somato emotional release isn't a long therapy. It's until you can free up your sort of spirit to let you talk, because you have little boundaries around things that you're protecting. Once you let that out, those sessions, once I excise the energy cyst, that's over. It's over. Like whatever trauma has been stopping you, creating whatever, hassling you in your life, being a real, a real sticky spot. It's gone. You don't even remember what it was. And that's the most amazing thing. Like, well, so what did we do? What you wanted to do? What did we do? Oh, I don't even know about that. I mean, I don't even feel it in my body anymore. Then, you're like, yes. And then they can go on and explore places that they have never been able to be in their whole life, ever.
And there's layers. We're an onion. I love that in Shrek.
Yeah, we are an onion. Yeah,
keep peeling that onion. It just doesn't stop. It's like the onion that gives and gives and gives. But to keep trying to hold it all together. And a lot of I do this. A lot of clients do this. I see this in my family. We're always trying to hold it together to keep moving through our day, our week, our month, just to hang on. And again, we go back to what is going on in the world today is pulling us away from self. from our souls.
You're right. You're right. And we're basically all trying to, it's kind of an interesting thing, both energetically and physically, we are swimming in a cesspool now.
Yes.
And we are at the tipping point. And that's why you're seeing so many people sort of falling off on this divisive, they're going one way or another, and their beliefs become who they are, instead of their beliefs being something added to who they are. It's who they are. And that creates a lot of divisive communication. There's been what's it called when you skew language to be other things, all like that mean other things that didn't, and it's sort of absconded. People are absconding with language. So now I'll say a word and they'll be like, how dare you? I'm like, what would I say? I don't even know. And oh yeah, well that now means you're blah blah blah, or you just did a slur. And I'm like,
I was just talking about my rug.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I thought I was just describing so I have found that language is very pivotal in this, and this has been relatively recent. I've been healing for over 20 years, 23 actually, maybe 24. I don't know, my math is bad. So and I have never seen language used like a baton to beat you in the head, or a sword. I mean, it's bitter, it's angry, and it's not compassionate. I have never seen that before. In the last couple of years, this is now coming into my office. My clients were always, that was never an issue. Now they've been hurt. They don't understand. They've been thrown out of their families, thrown out of relationships, thrown out of jobs. I mean, there is incredible pain everywhere now. And I'm not even going to address as to what you do with that, but I can, on an individual basis, you can take the pain out by healing the substrate of the energies, the frequencies that are being held in the body, like tapping, like craniosacral and body talk and somato emotion release and visceral manipulation and lymphatics. Lymphatics can be very magical, because you're working with the waters of the body, and the body is 70% water. That's one of my know-it-all facts. And so that you can change the tides of how the body uses energy. And when you go down to the substrate, not the emotional piece, not the conscious piece, and you take it in context with what the heart wants, and you do the physiological piece by changing the rhythms and tuning into the frequencies and tapping through where there's stuck spots, and using the meridian channels and color and light, and all of a sudden it opens like a big bloom. All of that stuff is going on underneath. Most people can live and die their whole lives and never have it touched. Yes. And that's what we get to do for the few that get to us, who have the courage to go outside the box, go for what they know they need, that they've already been. And this always happens. Everybody comes to me, they've been everywhere. I mean, they can afford it. And they're New Yorkers. They could afford it. They went everywhere. They were all over the world as specialists and this and that, doctors and yada, yada, yada. And they still couldn't get there. And then they came to me, and I'm not saying I'm the be all end all, but it just, when you know what things to work with, it's not even, because I'm not fixing them. They're fixing them. I don't fix them. They do. And I love that about that, because I don't have to be responsible for breaking anything.
No. And it's not, we're all our own petri dish. We're all our own souls. And with just these skin jackets on, that's all we are. And yes, we are connected. We are all part of a collective Christ consciousness. We are all a part of a whole, but we are each responsible for our own souls. And how will we choose in this time to evolve? What is it that I'm actually looking at a photo as I'm looking away. I have a board here in my office where I have a tree with sunlight sparking out of it. And there's a child leaping up with their arms out, just leaping up into the tree, into the sparks and the light coming through the tree. And that's what I envision for everyone, for my clients, my family, my friends, myself.
Yeah.
And I get those moments, definitely. I love it when the breakthroughs happen. It's so energizing. I didn't do it though. I do it for myself. But to be a facilitator and hold the space is a gift from God. I am so grateful to be born at this time, to be able to do this work.
Yeah, I like to think of my work as, by the way, that was really beautiful.
Thanks.
I think my brain just caught up to my mouth. By the way, that was really beautiful. That was really, really well said. On my Just Glenys website, I have a painting of a little girl pulling this reluctant little boy along on this path, on a garden path. And it always, that picture was always very important to my soul, because I feel like I'm just a partner on the path. And when the person that I'm with is a little scared, I'm there to give a little tug, a little hug, a little love. Come on, let's go around this corner. Let's see what's down there.
Yeah,
but
right,
the same way when I hike, I was like, let's go a little farther and see if there's another vista view. I just go from point to point, and that's how I live my life. And as a result, the people that are working with me, who get to know me, get that too. We're like, what are we gonna do today? I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Curiosity. Let's go check it out.
The childlike wonder, and let's bring it out and play with it. So I think that in the constraints of what we're dealing with in society right now, and this is a tougher time than I think.
Ever.
I mean, back to maybe like Roman times, maybe, when everybody,
It's global. We didn't realize the reach in the world at that, in those days. This is global. It's a global
and
thing.
it's a pervade it, since we're swimming in this as an energetic, it's everywhere, and it's touching everyone because of internet. We've never had that before. We've never had bad news fly around the world this fast. We've never had
constantly. You can't even just try to turn, look at something in the news just to find out what the weather is for the day. So you could go out and you'll figure it out yourself, but just, should I bring an umbrella today? And you open up even the weather app and you realize, because there's a movie thing that comes across showing massive tornadoes.
I know, 2 of them in a row. Like, I was like,
areas that don't get them.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not doing any gardening that day or that day. Oh, well, it's been very interesting, like scheduling. Like, nature has a very definitive cadence of how, there's warm days and you can plant, and there's days you can prune, and there's days that you water, and there's days that you can just sit there and enjoy the bugs, and good ones, and just and you just kind of go along. But the cadence is not right. The energetics are definitely disturbed, and in astrology that's showing that, and everywhere, sunspots, all kinds of stuff, that everything's stirred up. So how people can handle that, which I think is probably the reason we're talking about this, is how can people address that dissonance of everything in your life? Now, there are parts that are fine, and if you look at them as their own little island, a lot of your relationships are probably still fine, your household's still fine. I mean, I know for us, we are, everybody's fine, but we're all combating from everybody else. There's a lot of chaos, and I mean, death and illnesses and things that are coming in. And I was like, wow, so how we can handle that is there's really only one thing, and you have to do it personally, because you can't impact anybody else. You can only impact yourself, your own perception, which we talked about earlier, where your perception colors what comes into you, how you're perceiving what comes into you.
Mhm.
So if you change your perception of, if you filter, it's like being a bubble boy, and you're in a bubble, and you're not going to get any viruses inside your bubble, and you're going to make your bubble, and you're going to live in there, but you don't have to construct it all the time. You just separate yourself into your own little world, or we call them chi balls too in Taoism. If you live inside your chi ball, you live in the world you want to create. So have your little garden, have your, make wonderful meals, and have your family, do all the things that bring you joy and nurture your relationships that you love, and take care of you. You cannot continue. And I know you know who you are. I'm just going to say, you cannot martyr yourself at the cost of the other people you love, because you will go down. And you cannot afford to be sick now. Do not be sick in this world now. You cannot afford it. Can't. And it's not about the cost. It's about the loss of autonomy. You cannot afford to be sick. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I know you know what I'm saying.
Yes. I think your voice is heard in all corners of the planet. I think there are many who are aware, and I could feel there are two different energies moving here. And I feel it, and I know you feel it too. It's just the energy of those who are doing something about pulling their energies in, doing self-care, not worrying about getting their lips plumped up and their body sculpted. It's about the internal self-care that then has planted and expands outwardly, and then expands out into the world. But
Right.
this self-care also means not being around the energetics of toxic people, places, things, ideas, words.
It's a detox.
Right.
It's a detox. You have to live I'm sorry, did I interrupt you? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're right on. That's it.
Wonderful list. Toxic. We are in a world, and we're seeing it. It's just like when you look at your body, you're seeing it physically and environmentally at the same time. Like all of these spills, we have had so many spills and fires of toxic things put into the air and into the water, and then the ones that they covered up years ago are now all coming out. And so we've had cancer cells all over the United States that we weren't even aware of, that the EPA never let us know. And I'm sorry, EPA, but that was not good. And so people should have been notified, but they weren't. And now they're sick, or they've already died, and now we're finding out. So as a result, when you realize that, I just found out just up the street, well, in Reading, which is just up the way here, they just had a chocolate factory blow up. Why does a chocolate factory blow up? So like things are happening, and there's all this smoke and fumes and all this stuff coming off of that. And it's just, no, I'm not doing anything. And nobody, I don't know how it happened, but whatever happened, it happened. But there's more toxins being spilled into the air. There's the planes putting up their chemtrail things that are dropping aluminum, barium, and all kinds of stuff on us.
And there was even a tanker out on, I don't know what you call it. It was like a utility ship that had old vehicles on it, and then that they're taking out to, I don't know where they were going to take them dump them or whatever. But the thing, this ship was just full of these old vehicles, and they all stacked on top of each other. And there's film footage of them. This happened the other day, and it's out on the ocean. And what ended up happening was the salt water started getting into all of these vehicles, and ignited the vehicles. The whole thing went up in flames.
How does salt water do that? Well,
because the batteries left in it, whatever it did, it
exploded
them in the corrosion and right.
Yeah.
Like nobody thought to take the batteries out. They never done that before? But like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Where are people's brains?
Yep. And so we have the physical of the land, the water, the things, our environment, and that's the earth, and how we are conserving. We're conservators for that. We're supposed to be taking care of that. And I don't know, did you think it's kind of interesting that with all these toxic spills, the environmentalists are
just saying. You're saying it, they're not. This is why, as we're working ourselves up here around this stuff, this is what we cannot keep doing this to ourselves.
No, we can't.
And yet we can stand in the truth, knowing and the knowledge, little bit by little bit. Okay, I know this stuff. This is not good. I need to work on changing my life and taking full responsibility for my piece in this play.
Right. So what are we doing for that? So when I hear about these things, if it's when they had the spill in East Palestine, the day that they set it on fire, maybe the day after, I wasn't aware of it until then. As soon as I was aware of it, I wrote a long email to the governor.
I'm sure you did. I know you would.
And that made me, I got to say, and I wasn't aggressive or anything. I just said, this is very bad. And you need to, and I said, and I saw you in a video glad handing with the governor of Ohio. And I really think you guys better get your ducks in a row, because you just did a very bad thing.
Because I'm calling Aaron Brockovich.
And so anyway, the guy, he retracted everything the next day. But the thing is that I need to feel like I'm doing something. And I don't know if that's the way everybody is, but this is the way I work. I feel handled and in control and at peace if I do not just sit there. If I comply and don't say anything, then I'm complicit. And there's starting to be t-shirts for that now. Complying equals the bad thing.
Agreeing. Complying means you're agreeing with this.
Right. Yeah,
you're not.
Compliance equals agreement. And I'm like, I am not going to go down with that. So if you do something about it in the first place, then I did what I did. And I didn't need to follow up, because I said everything I needed to say. It really wasn't aggressive. It was a very pointed explanation of because I'd been watching everything. And I was like, well, I probably have more information than he has, because I had more time to spend to look. But either way, if you do your research, find out what you need to say it, move on. And then that piece is put to bed. It's like it's tucked it in real nice.
And even if for people who cannot handle, because I'm at the point where I can't handle much more information, just a little bit here and there. I don't want any more information.
I agree.
What I want is peace. And what brings me peace is I'm now like very vocal about this. I start with prayer. I start with God. I start with Christ. I have to. That's just where I'm at. I'm not, like screaming for the world to do that. I just know that actually we could use a lot more of that, because that place of peace. And then going into meditation, we've talked about meditation 100,000 times.
All those things, all of the things we said before, and this is now on top. This is
right. And then from there, if you need to take this, sit down and write that letter, take that breath, and just get it out and move on and get back to doing the work. Doing the work and detoxing those things and places and people and yada yada out of our lives, and helping our clients do that.
Yeah, because everything is toxic right now. So you have to detox it. So you have to literally be more in tune to what you're doing to manage that than we've ever had to be before, than ever. I mean, the food is polluted, the water's polluted, the air's polluted. So how are you gonna, they're talking about all the plastics in the food, and people are eating out of Aldi's now and Dollar General stores. And that's all, like, if you go to your farmer's market, you can get a ton of real food without eating a lot of
for
plastic.
a lot less.
For a lot less money. Anything that's in plastic, you're paying more for the packaging than you are the thing that's in it.
Oh yeah.
And the other thing is coming out. I just saw in some article 2 days ago that the spices that are in most of the places where you buy them are all full of heavy metals.
Yes.
So you have to find a source for people who, if you're going to use a lot of spices or you're using them often, you got to find stuff that's clean. So read labels like your life depends on it, because it does. But a lot of this stuff isn't on the label. So you are not protected by that, but you can be protected by knowing your source, growing it yourself. And I don't mean like just have a little herb thing and only use what you grow. Don't have to have 1,000 different made up spicy things.
No, just, cut back and streamline. But that's for another day, another conversation. We could definitely go there with this. And you and I are going to put something together that we're going to do a workshop. A virtual workshop. Okay.
Oh, we are.
We are. Yes.
Oh, I always do whatever Mo wants.
We're going to do this.
I want to
and
do. We both get into trouble together.
We'll be posting this. As a mother, a grandmother, a business owner, podcaster. For myself, I know that I'm always juggling something, and I have wild dreams and wishes and want to get it all done. But I'm being called in a bigger way to move through this. And Glenys, you are being called in a huge way also. So before we close out today, how can our listeners find wonderful Glenys?
I'm on Glenys Eldred, which is my name, GLENYS Eldred.com. And my new site for the energy work, the healing arts, is on that. So you can, and it's very simple. I'm going old school, no fussy stuff. Just text, email me. You just email me, the email's there. Just email me and tell me what you want or what you want to know. And then we will create some kind of a conversation to get you where you want to be together. Perfect. And I'll hold your hand, and I might drag you a little bit, but mostly you'll be running right next to me.
You're amazing. And I'm so honored to have had you on the show again today. So I just want to tell our listeners, thank you so very much for joining us. We absolutely love having you here. And hopefully some of this information sparks you to get back to basics, get back to aligning yourself with your spirit. So take a moment, take a deep breath all the way in and exhale, and know that you're not alone. You're on the Family Balancing Act.